This is Adam Christodoulou, Mercedes AMG factory driver and Nürburgring 24-hour winner. And this is me, a former kart racing driver, track day legend, and now taking my first steps into classic car racing. An unfair match? Maybe, but not in the way that you would expect. To understand the comparison, you first need a bit of background on me. I raced karts at a national level up until 2019, when COVID ended my career rather swiftly. I tested briefly in Formula 4 and have done multiple track days in my own modified GR Yaris. And just recently, I bought a classic 1964 Hillman Imp to go car racing with. I've only done 2 test days prior to this, and this was Adam's first session in the car. So now you're up to speed, and I've broken down the lap into multiple sectors so that we can dissect and analyse each corner and the differences between me and a true professional driver. I'll take you through each corner individually, side by side with telemetry and data, and I'll analyse the technique differences between me and Adam. So, can I beat a pro driver? Let's find out. So here we are then, this will be our perspective for the video. We have the speed, G-force and driver camera in the corner, and I'll take you through the relevance of them and what they mean in terms of our driving. Let's get started. So turn 1 is cops. Adam is carrying 7 miles per hour more by the time we get to the braking zone. Now this is because we had different gearboxes in for these clips. The rest of the lap is taken from the exact same session to try and control all of the variables, but this was the only clear turn 1 that I had all weekend. Anyway, even with this, Adam takes the speed off much more effectively throughout the braking zone. This is likely because he was more comfortable with the car at this stage and not scared of the rear stepping out. We both, however, reach a minimum speed that's very similar, although I'm 2 miles per hour down. Where I change gear because of the different ratios and Adam doesn't, it actually unsettles the rear of the car, and this helps me get the car rotated nice and early through the corner. What this actually means is despite the fact I'm 2 miles per hour slower at the apex, I have less steering lock on through the exit phase, less resistance and accelerate faster. Then, by the exit, I'm 3 miles per hour up. Overall, despite my slower entry, getting the car rotated early gave me an exit phase with less resistance and a faster corner time of 0.08 of a second. I'm ready to sign the Mercedes contract whenever they want. Now, Maggots and Beckett's is a completely different story, and from this point on in the lap, the car is identical and I did my lap 10 minutes after Adam did his. So we both open up the left kink wide and start on the far right hand side of the track. I'm going a fraction faster and turn in slightly earlier than Adam, but this comes relevant later on in the sequence. We both take a lot of curb on the left and brake just after the car is settled after coming off the curb. We both take a chunk of curb again through the right, but again I've turned in a fraction earlier. By this point, however, I'm ahead. Then Adam makes the much better strategic move. He changes down from 4th to 3rd into the left-hander, which means that the car is uninterrupted and completely settled, going through the much more important right, which leads on to one of the longest straights on the circuit. Adam's strategy is, rather than give every corner the same chance and prioritise it equally, he completely sacrifices the left, which allows him to prioritise both the right before and the right after much more, which are the more important corners. So although I went into the final corner of this sequence ahead, Adam's patience earlier on means that by the exit, he's ahead of me and 1 mile per hour up. At the end of the straight, this means he'll be in a better position to either overtake or defend in a race scenario. Stowe is the next fast-flowing right-hander. I'm a touch quicker here and it's all to do with the entry. When you watch this corner from the slowest point at the apex to the exit, we have near identical lines, identical inputs and identical speeds, but I make up all my time on the entry. Having done a few more laps in the car and being more confident at high speed corners, I brake significantly later than Adam. This does cause me to unsettle the car a bit as I'm right on the limit of braking, but I managed to neutralise the balance of the car at that apex point so that we get an equivalent exit. This shows me that for future laps I'd brake a fraction earlier and keep the car settled so that I can be consistent and good on my tyre wear. This is an example of how smooth Adam is, and this additional smoothness will not make a difference over 10 minutes, but over a 24-hour race where you're really managing tyre degradation, that makes a huge difference. Any load you can take out of the tyre and out of the car that isn't causing wear and damage is going to be hugely beneficial. It will also allow him to be more consistent over hundreds of laps, which of course is very important. There is a very similar pattern, but with completely opposite drivers. Here, Adam is aggressive in the braking and makes up time, but again, after that apex point, we're near identical. The reason why Adam is able to gain on the brakes is because he moved over to the right earlier. He is braking in a parallel line with the edge of the track, which means he's not only minimising the radius of the corner, but if he locks up or makes a mistake, he just runs on straight. Whereas I am V'ing out to the edge of the track, which means that when I lock up or make a mistake, I've made the corner radius larger, but also I'm going to run onto the curb, have more grip taken away from me, and it's going to get worse. His positioning allows him to be confident in the braking zone with a nice straight steering wheel, maximising the grip from the friction circle. As you see here, when I reset the gap at the apex of the left, we are within 1/10 of each other for the rest of that sequence. The only difference in line here is that he carries a little bit more speed between the left and the right, but by the time he gets to the right, he's washed wider and the speed is scrubbed off, so it normalises there. I actually predict the front wash and have a little lift going into the right, which means that I carry a tighter line all the way around, but once again, our speeds are identical by the time we've straightened up. Overall, it's driver preference, but here, I am actually slightly easier on the tyres, so a complete role reversal through this sequence. We're now at the new start-finish line and approaching Abbey, that fast-flowing right-hander. Here again, we're pretty much identical and within 1 mile per hour of each other around the whole corner. Noticeable is that Adam is much smoother on the brakes and on the steering. I have a little slide on entry where I'm trail braking in trying to get the front to turn, and he doesn't. Now at Stowe, this helped me get the car rotated earlier and gain a little bit of time, whereas here there is absolutely no time difference. So if you opt for one technique, it has to be the smoother one because it's easier on the car, easier on the tyres, easier to be consistent, and over race distance, that's what's really important. The flat left immediately after Abbey is Farm Curve. Now here we're both flat out, it's a flat out corner, but Adam predicts the front wash a bit better here and I run wider. He holds a tighter, shorter line that puts him in a better position for the right-hander coming up. Although we both reach the exact same turning point, he gives himself a bit less of a corner to turn because I'm still braking out to open up the corner, whereas he's already there, ready to turn right. This would be exactly what I was trying to do, I just didn't predict the understeer through farm properly. So we've both braked at the exact same point, taken off the speed together, but I ease off the brakes slightly earlier and carry a touch more mid-speed. As you're beginning to see the pattern, this doesn't really help or hinder me because I lose traction on the exit and don't put the power down as nicely. Adam goes slower, has a slower mid-corner speed, but puts the power down better. So by the time we get to the left at the loop, we're, you guessed it, in identical positions. Now this is a really interesting corner that perfectly demonstrates the slow in, fast out principle. First principle you'll ever learn racing. I brake just a fraction earlier than Adam does, but it means I don't have that slide on entry. Adam's trying to brake too late and turn too aggressively, and then he gets the oversteer. I'm just a tad more patient and brake a bit earlier. We both reach identical minimum speeds here, but I reach my minimum speed earlier, which means I've got the turning done earlier and I can get on the power earlier. Now, on the face of it, this seems like an advantage, but it actually hurt me slightly. Because I was earlier on the power, I carried more speed and washed out wider on the exit. Adam was more patient on the throttle, spent longer turning, which meant that when he did get on the power, the steering wheel was straighter and he was able to put the power down more effectively. But once again, our exit speeds were within 1 mile an hour of each other. So far, comparing to Adam has been fascinating because no one person has been quicker anywhere and no one approach or principle has been quicker anywhere. It demonstrates how different drivers with different philosophies can still generate the same time. What you have to do is balance the consequence of those times, i.e. load through the car, load through the tyres and tyre wear, and consistency. Now, as a bit of an aside, an interesting thing to note down this next straight we have coming up is that Adam changes up about 800 revs later than me because he clearly does not respect my car. Anyway, even with identical exit speeds, he ends up at the end of the straight 4 miles per hour quicker than I do. This is a huge difference and shows how that high lift cam and short exhaust are really pushing the power high up in that rev range. Right, we're nearly done, and if you are enjoying the video, please like and subscribe. It helps me and helps the video spread to more people. Leave me a comment letting me know what you enjoyed, what you didn't, so I can build on this for the next videos. Feedback is always welcome. Next up is the left-hander at Brooklands. Adam has a slower car in front of him, which forces him to turn in early, but if anything, this helps him. Being wet earlier in the day, grip was low and rubber had only just started to go down onto the track. My wider, more V-shaped line relied on grip being there at a specific point in the corner, which you can see it wasn't because I had the slide just at that point. Adam's line is more stable and relies on a constant load, grip and radius around the corner for its whole duration. In grippier conditions, say later on in the weekend, my line is likely faster, but in this circumstance, Adam read the grip level perfectly and did not generate a slide at all. My slide pushes me wide of the curb and therefore in a less favourable position to open up Luffield, the final corner. Here you see two completely different theories again. This is the only time that we disagreed on gear choice, where Adam uses second and wrestles the car around the inside of the corner as it's bouncing up and down off the shocks. I, however, in a complete role reversal from the last corner, use third gear and try and be smooth, patient, constant radius, constant load. So in between two corners we've completely flipped our approaches and our ideas. Once again, neither line is faster, just different, but they would need to be adapted for different track conditions. For example, if the track got grippier, because Adam's changing up from second to third right on the exit, that would probably be two on the cusp and not worth doing. But equally, if the track was grippier, but you were stuck behind someone mid-corner and you wanted to get a quick drive out to overtake them, you'd use second still, and then change up to third and be really aggressive. So overall, what are the key takeaways from this analysis? The main one is you have to be adaptable to the car and your surroundings and the track. And that applies not just adapting to Silverstone in an imp, it applies adapting to Silverstone in an imp immediately after it's rained and after the pre-83 group has been out and put some rubber down. And if they haven't been out and put some rubber down, it's changing that quickly. And in half the corners, I was the aggressive one, and in the other half, Adam was the aggressive one. Neither method is right or wrong, but you just have to make sure that it can be adapted to a changing track and you can use it consistently. Now, you're probably thinking, why wasn't Adam a chunk faster? Well, that's because I'm amazing. No. There's a little bit more to it than that. I've done 2 complete test days in the car. Adam had done 20 minutes. Now, this to me is the truest test of a pro driver. I haven't had much seat time in the car at all really, but Adam has had a fraction of that. He came out the pits and straight away had to adapt from his usual modern, stiff, high grip, high torque GT3 race car to a 105 brake, soft as anything classic car where the shocks bounce off the bump stop every corner. Now, I've always been one of the fastest to find the pace, but Adam's adaptability is on another level, thanks to his experience and understanding of car dynamics. When Adam gives feedback on the car, he can truly develop it as he understands the car mechanics and the philosophy behind how everything works. That's something I like to think I'm fairly good at, but he's up there. It's another level. So, Mercedes, you can keep your driver, but I'm always here to stand in, you know? So a huge thanks to Adam Christodoulou. Now watch this video to see how I got on the rest of the race weekend, and spoiler alert, it was pretty tough in nearly every way.